Welcome to Mecum Presents On the Move, the show geared toward keeping you up to speed with the latest auto news, event coverage, and expert industry insight. Now, here are your hosts, Matt Avery and John Cramen.
On today's show, you get an introduction to those hosts, we get a call from Frank Mecum, and we discuss one of the most significant collections of Shelby Mustangs. I'm Matt, and with me is John Cramen, lead TV commentator for Mecum Auctions. John, how are you today?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing really great. You know, we've had some dialogue about getting this podcast series kicked off, and man, we're finally doing it. Really looking forward to working with you and providing some really interesting content covering a lot of topics.
Now, John, I've heard your voice and I've seen you on TV for years. I've got to ask, how did you first get into cars?
Well, to hear my mom tell the story, it started when I was about 2 years old with a preoccupation of cars. My dad sold used cars, and literally growing up around the used car lots and just soaking up information. When I was a teenager, who didn't want a Pontiac GTO in the 60s and the 70s? I did, and in 1976, when I was 19, I bought my 64 GTO that I still own that exact car today. I was also a mechanic at a speed shop. Sterling Speed Engineering was a very well-known high-performance shop in Rockford, Illinois. Back in the day, worked for Carl Johnson, built a lot of racing engines. Gave me a nice background from that standpoint as well. And fast forward all the way to today, we're now 13 years into our run on television. Great partner with NBCSN. Get to share some information, and most of all, a lot of love and passion about cars.
Now, John, one of the things that I've learned about you and I've got to experience firsthand is that you are big time into music and you even play in a band.
Well, interesting tie-in with Mecum Auctions, as recently have jumped into vintage guitar auctioning, which really hits my hot button. Yeah, as a guitar player, vocalist for Redline 7000, three-piece classic rock band, playing a lot of automotive events, including at Mecum Auctions, Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals, and other events as well. It's all part of that, you know, kid growing up in the 60s, loving the music, loving the cars, and blending it all together. You know, Matt, you came onto my radar screen with your book, your incredible book on the COPO program from the 1960s. Highly recommend that book to anybody that's listening and wants to really learn a lot in great detail about that great program. But what's your background? Where did you come from in regard to cars?
So I started off as a technician. I worked for both a BMW and a Mercedes-Benz dealership in the Annapolis, Maryland area. From there, I moved into automotive journalism. I started working with the TV show Motor Week and moved up to Chicago. And for 10 and a half years, I was a video producer for Cars.com, producing new car editorial content. My interest in the classics has come out of a newspaper column that I write in the Chicago Daily Herald. I've been doing that for the past 10 years. And that I get to spotlight suburban car owners and their stories and get to kind of share why they love their vehicles so much. Along the way, I've also been a board member for the Midwest Automotive Media Association, a group that you and I are still active members in, and really just a great way that we stay up to date with the latest in the new car industry.
When it comes to cars, specifically cars, what are some of the vehicles that sort of hit your hot button that you've got an interest in?
As you'd imagine, I'm into Chevrolet's COPO cars, the Yenko Camaros, the Yenko Stingers, the Gib Novas, the ZL1s, all incredible cars, all great stories of how they got built. Other stuff I like include early 2000s high-performance Camaros, specifically the ones built by GMMG, really truly modern supercars. I also like wagons. I love the Nomads, the Falcon wagons, all that kind of stuff. I also have a really soft spot for Volkswagens Type 3 Squareback. My parents had one growing up. And then having worked for BMW, I'm also really fond of their M cars.
Matt, you and I both attend a lot of Mecum auctions and a lot of other events as well. And what I'm really looking forward to doing with you and sharing with the listeners is our attending and reporting on a variety of automotive events, some big and significant and some not so big, and we might be able to help sort of spread the word. Let listeners put the finger on the pulse of what's really happening out there in the collector car world. And also, not just necessarily spanning vintage cars, but both you and I have a chance occasionally to drive one of the newer cars, performance cars in particular, and we'll also be reporting on those as well.
Mecum Auctions is proud to bring you On the Move with Matt Avery and John Cramen. For more on the world of collector cars, head over to Mecum.com. Now let's get back to the show.
This spring has been nothing short of a truly wild ride, and as is the case with all kinds of other events, automotive gatherings of all kinds have had to be postponed.
Well, the good news is we have Frank Mecum, the consignment director of Mecum Auctions. Most of us know Frank from the time that we see him working the auction block television at Mecum Auctions, but his full-time job is actually that being part of the senior Mecum management and handling consignments. Hey, Frank, really glad you could join us today. Fill us in on what is happening in this changing world with Mecum Auctions.
Hey guys, good to be part of the first Mecum podcast here today. We're like everybody else. We're adapting and changing to the times every day, and every day there's a new move and a new adjustment that has to be made, and everybody's going through it, and everybody understands. But just going through our schedule, we have our Houston auction that was supposed to be April 2nd through the 4th. We have postponed, and we'll have announcement on new dates, hopefully here in the next couple weeks, as we make adjustments going forward. We're not the only, we look at ourselves, but all kinds of different events are being canceled all over the country. So there's giant lines for venues right now and getting rescheduled for this summer and later into the fall. So we're waiting for those dates as well. Mecum's Gone Farming auction will be moving into the second week of June with the normal spring tractor sale and with the new truck auction and rotor auction going on as well for that event. And the 33rd Dana Mecum's Original Spring Classic, the Mecum flagship event, which has always been held in May. With everything going on, we are taking the safe route for our customers, our employees, and everybody. And we're going to move to the last week of June 23rd through the 28th. And we really think with that, Indy is going to be a monster event when everybody's able to finally come out of their caves, as we say, and get back to life as we've known it in the past, and get the car hobby back on track. We're looking forward to a big Indy event in the end of June.
How has the technology of Mecum Auctions allowed Mecum to continue to progress in working all of these auctions into the future?
Well, behind the scenes, the last 2 years, we have been preparing a new computer system, a new auction management system, a new phone system, and have been, since mid-2019, have been implementing it in phases and getting ready to go full-time with it. And it can't be said enough that when this hit us, it hit everybody so sudden, and we were able to transfer the home office, the 120 employees that work out of the home office, to their home offices and to work from home in under a week. And with the old computer system, as great as it was, and the old phone system as great as it had been for us, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So all the people behind the scenes that no one gets to see needs major credit to being able to have Mecum fully operational during these hard times. Our consignment department is open and taking consignments for all the auctions. Our bidder department is open for questions. We are running on time. Our Mecum memorabilia, Mecum Road Art is running on-time auctions right now, just keeping people involved with some great stuff, with some neat model cars for everybody to look at. I've been on there all morning looking at the Ford model GT40 that they got on there this week, and Guitar Search has guitars online. So there's something for everybody to do right now. And it's really been a blessing with our new computer system to be able to keep us moving during these hard times.
Want to talk about some significant entries and collections coming up down the road, but before that, let's hit the third of what Matt and I have been calling Super June, and that is actually the first week of June is the Vanoy Collection. Is that planning on heading off as scheduled, and what's significant about that group?
Well, June is going to be a monster Mecum month. I was looking at the schedule this morning. We don't have a day off. We're going to go from auction to auction to auction, and in pure Mecum form, just rock and roll through the month of June, and really looking forward to it. We're going to kick it off with the Vanoy Collection out of Jefferson, North Carolina. It's just you can't explain it until you're there, of the massive amount of great road art cars, just a little bit of everything. And Eddie's collection, the thing about it is he collected the best of everything, and it's just a jaw-dropping collection to be able to walk through, and to be able to offer it this June is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be able to do some great things with that.
Well, certainly a great way to kick off June. Let's fast forward now to the end of June with the flagship event, Frank, as you had talked about, Dana Mecum's original Spring Classic. What do you see coming to that auction that really sort of sticks out in your mind as being very special?
Well, we've already got over 1,300 consignments for our Indy auction, and it is probably the best lineup overall that we've ever had for our Dana Mecum's original Spring Classic, which is saying a lot, because every year we have something special, and especially following last year with the Giuliano collection, which, you know, everybody said that's going to be so hard to top. And then we come back this year and just have so many great cars, with headline with the John Ottsbach collection. And talking about John's collection, you just go through his cars, and I don't know if you've looked through them, John, but every car would be a cornerstone or headstone piece for somebody's collection. And every car he's got the Ken Miles Prototype 65 Shelby Gt350r, which was the car that made the Shelby Mustang. It's the car that they used for all the promotion. It's the car that won all the races. It's the car that won the championship. It is the best Mustang we've ever offered, and we've offered the Bullet, the Super Steak, and then you can move down to the 66 GT350 convertible. It just keeps going. I don't know about you, but which one would you take?
That's a really, really good question. You know, Frank, a passion of yours over the years, especially on the Mecum auction block, has been attracting exotics, European exotics, whether they be vintage or contemporary. Can we expect any of that at the Spring Classic this year?
We do. We have a great exotic lineup, which is really headlined by the Richard Welkowitz Estate Collection. He has, and this is another group that I got to go see personally, and you just walk in the room and start walking around the cars, and you just keep stopping. I mean, it's the best of the best. He's got an 89 Testarossa that's still on the MSO with 100 miles, all the original luggage. Just such a great group of cars. A 95 512M, which is a car that you only see come to auction every 4, 5, 6 years. We've never had the chance of offering one, so this will be the first one Mecum's ever offered. He's got the 599 GTB with a 6-speed, which is one of 30 with a gated 6-speed from 2007. His collection had the 63 Rolls-Royce drop head coupe that was ordered by Tony Curtis new, with only 27 of them being built. It's the collections like this that I've always wished that you could have met the man that built the collection. This is a collection that we've gotten after Mr. Welkowitz passed away, and he had such an eye for great cars and just never sparing a penny for the care of these cars is something that it's going to be exciting when they cross the auction line.
So, Frank, it's clear that there's a lot of great cars coming, and more are in the works as, if I understand you right, consignments are being taken every day, correct?
We're still taking consignments for Indy, and with the pushback of over 30 days, we're going to have even more cars than normal. We just consigned another group of 60 cars that we'll be announcing later next week. So there's more stuff coming in, and we're excited every day. There's big groups of cars that are getting consigned, and great cars. We just consigned a great 68 L88 from a collection, and that there's stuff happening every day.
You know, Frank, it sounds like it's business as usual with that lineup growing rapidly for Mecum Indy. And with all the staff on board working remotely, certainly new additions to the lineup will be available for immediate viewing at Mecum.com whenever those happen to pop up. My number one favorite resource for taking a look and keeping an eye on things, what's happening in the future at Mecum Auctions. Man, we really appreciate you taking the time, coming in and spending some time with us, filling us in on what's happening out there at Mecum Land, and we look forward to seeing you down the road, man.
All right, great talking to you guys, and look forward to listening to the first episode and many more following.
Don't adjust that dial. On the Move, we'll be right back. Our program is proudly presented by Mecum Auctions, the world's largest collector car auctions. Now back to Matt and John.
Now, as Frank mentioned, coming to the upcoming Indy auction is the John Ottsbach Collection, a world-class gathering of Shelby Mustangs. John, you're very familiar with John's cars and how he went about acquiring them. What was his overall collecting strategy?
Well, I think if you look at what the actual cars are, you'll begin to kind of pick up an idea what it was all about. First of all, 12 cars in the collection, 10 Shelbys, 9 Mustangs, all high-performance small blocks except for one big block Shelby. So what John strived to achieve, and it was a very successful accomplishment, was to get the best examples of high-performance small block Ford Shelby Mustangs, including one Cobra.
Now, the flagship piece is this 1965 Gt350r Prototype. What's the story, John?
Well, Matt, I think a lot of Mustang fans, particularly those that appreciate performance Mustangs, have in their mind an image of one Mustang, the original success story of the racing arm of Shelby American, with what is considered to be the first R model, the prototype car, successfully driven to racing dominance B production by Ken Miles, that legendary guy with Shelby that just dominated behind the wheel of anything he got behind the wheel of, most notably known for what's referred to by everybody back in the day and today, the legend continues to grow, as the Flying Mustang.
Now, that nickname, for those unaware, comes from the fact that during competition, when this car was in use, photos were snapped of it with all four wheels having left the track. And when news broke broke of the announcement with it coming to auction, I was struck by a lot of similarities between it and the Bullitt Mustang, where here you have a pair of first-gen Mustangs, record-breaking Mustangs, and both are known in their respective right for leaving the ground. You have Bullitt, of course, being known the world over for leaping through the streets of San Francisco in that very iconic chase scene.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you were to pick out three of the most significant, best-known, legendary, and most valuable Mustangs of all time, it would be, of course, the Bullitt Mustang, the 67 Super Snake, both previously sold by Mecum Auctions, and now, talk about bookends. This particular Mustang, by the way, we are talking millions, and you heard me right, millions of dollars expected to sell for. And I do want to pay homage to the condition of this car. Pictures, of course, available at Mecum.com, where it has been restored to original 1965 race standard to a show-winning level of 100 points. Perfect score. So not only is the car itself significant, but they've painstakingly brought it back to its original configuration. And of course, we all know the significance of who Ken Miles is, Ford versus Ferrari, that story. And this is a big part of Ford performance culture that the world's going to be hearing about for sure.
Now, he's also got a couple supercharged Shelbys. How did those come about?
Yeah, bolt-on supercharging, not that popular back in the 1960s. Today, we see superchargers all the time, but it was really kind of cutting edge back in that time period. And Shelby decided they were going to take the performance of the Shelby Mustang that they've already bumped up from 271 horsepower to 306. Let's take it up another notch with the addition of a Paxton supercharger. In 1965, the debut year, only two were built. This particular car that's coming to the auction was the factory prototype. It was the factory demo. Again, one of only two. Pretty hard to get more rare than that. And then the other car is one of only 11 that were built with the factory installed Paxton supercharger from 1966. Again, every single car in this Ottsbach lineup is going to have a story of rarity and provenance that's unparalleled.
Now I see another GT350. This one's a convertible.
Yeah, there are a lot of Shelby enthusiasts that don't realize that a Shelby convertible was even built. The reality is 4 were built, 4 different colors. This one happens to be ivy green. It's an automatic transmission, and it's got air conditioning on a Shelby GT350 convertible. Again, the significance of each individual car of this group, it's just incredible. Downside, very, very expensive cars. These are not bargain Shelbys. These cars, as this group, represent truly the pinnacle, the absolute top. And as Frank Mecum had talked about, any one of these single cars would be the centerpiece of a collection. And the fact that John was able to assemble this group of cars over many years and keep it maintained at this high level. And the fact that Mecum actually is having these cars come to the auction, it's a huge honor.
Now, besides for the classic examples, it looks like he also was into the modern Shelbys. I see he's got a 2015 Gt350r.
Yep, the launch year for that, the high-performance version of what already is a high-performance car. Very rare in itself and desirable. In fact, it's the very last of only 37 that were built. So once again, not the first, but how about adding the last year collection? And it's essentially as new condition as well.
Now, his likes were pretty diverse. I see he's also got 2 Lamborghinis as well.
Well, yes, he does, and he is a big collector of Lamborghini memorabilia as well, also going to be crossing the auction block, but really spanning 2 extremes of the Lamborghini lineup. Go all the way back to the mid-1960s, in this particular case, 1967, with the 400 GT 2+2. That is in incredible, unrestored, all-original condition. And this was the high-performance Grand Touring car from Lamborghini that was definitely inspired by what Ferrari was doing. You fast-forward that all the way up to the modern era with what a lot of folks consider to be really sort of one of the ultimate supercars of all time, Lamborghini Giardo. It's an LP 574. Of course, it's all-wheel drive, 5.2 liters, V10, one of 15 of these special edition cars built, 520 horsepower, and once again, essentially brand new condition.
Sounds like that was a common thread with everything he acquired. It's all high quality, investment grade, and certainly anyone that's into Lamborghinis, Shelbys, or Mustangs, they're going to want to pay attention to this.
Matt, we've just scratched on the surface of what is in store, certainly for Mecum Indy. It is going to be big. In fact, already the buzz is huge over the amount of consignments that are pouring in, a lot of pent-up demand, and it's all going to come to head in June for us.
You've been listening to On the Move, proudly presented by Mecum Auctions, the world's largest collector car auctions. For more information, including past shows, visit Mecum.com. Be sure to sign up to become a Mecum InfoNet member, absolutely free. Join us again next time for more talk and discussion about the vehicles we love. We'll see you down the road.